Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2024, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 77 years of independence and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. This week is being commemorated as National Central Vigilance Awareness Week. Vigilance Awareness Week is one of the participative vigilance initiatives of the Central Vigilance Commission in the fight against corruption. It is an awareness building outreach measure which aims to bring together all the stakeholders. It is observed to create greater sensitivity about the need for ethics and transparency in governance and public administration. The Commission endeavors to promote integrity and eradicate corruption with active support and participation of all citizens. For the past 3 years, there has been a campaign in run-up with the week with Preventive Vigilance Initiative. As focus areas, every year Vigilance Awareness Week is observed in the week in which the birthday of Bharat Ratna Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel falls in. So this year, the Commission has decided that Vigilance Awareness Week would be observed from 28th October 24 to 3rd November 2024 on the following theme: Culture of Integrity for Nation's Prosperity. As a prelude to Vigilance Awareness Week 2024, the Commission has decided that all organizations may undertake a 3-month campaign 16th August to 15th November 2024 on preventive vigilance with focus on 5 areas as specified in the circular dated 8th August 2024 and 1st August 2020. So you must be the change you wish to see in the world. So the change always begins with us. Today is also commemorated as Polar Bear Week from November 3rd to 9th. We observe Polar Bear Week during the first full week of November, running from November 3rd to November 9th this year. It coincides with the fall polar bear migration to Churchill, Manitoba, where the bears gather to wait for Hudson Bay to freeze up so that they can return to hunt seals. During Polar Bear Week, the focus is on importance of sea ice to polar bears and how to tackle climate change and to ensure their survival. Future generations of polar bears depend on the decisions we make today. It's of utmost importance to leverage our power as citizens to save the polar bear's home. Polar Bear Week started as a way to get people from all over the world to make efforts in reducing their impact on the environment during this week. The week long observation aims to create awareness about climate change, especially concerning polar bears. Many people are already reducing energy consumption in their homes, schools, and workplaces. Steps such as turning thermostats down, driving less, using more energy efficient devices, and recycling can add years to a polar bear's life. The awareness created through Polar Bear Week attracts more supporters and conservationists every year. According to scientists, climate change has caused a massive reduction of the Arctic sea ice. The polar bears are spending less time on ice, meaning they have fewer seals to eat. The main component of their diet. Polar bears not only need the sea ice to maintain their dietary needs, but also for traveling, socializing, and mating. Climate change disturbs the freezing of the Arctic Sea, messing up with the polar bear's migratory and hunting patterns. The changing climate is a reality, but from observations over the past 50 years, researchers haven't identified a consistent decline in the health of the wildlife that migrates to Hudson Bay before the harsh winter starts. Hudson Bay continues to see many healthy bears, including moms with cubs, and they hope that future generations will have the opportunity to walk with and live with among polar bears. But still, it is a great concern that we all need to immediately be cautious on the climate change and act accordingly so that we can prevent further endangerment and extinction of flora and fauna, including human beings. So polar bears evolved from brown bears a million years ago. The oldest fossil known as a polar bear fossil, oldest one, somewhere around 130 years ago, is a well-preserved jaw from Svalbard. Polar bears were named by Commander C.J. Phillips, named them for the first time in 1774 in the West. Polar bear scientists returned to bear's original scientific name, Urus maritimus. Thus, polar bears renamed to scientific name in 1971. So, native Arctic people hunt the polar bears for food, clothing, and to sell their skin. Global estimates suggest that around 22,000 to 31,000 polar bears remain in their natural habitat. About 1,000 bears migrate to Churchill from July to November, earning it the nickname the polar bear capital of the world. Here, the planet's largest land carnivores spend the summer and await winter when the babe freezes, and then they can perch on the ice and hunt for the ringed seals. Many conservationist organizations and zoos organize awareness events during Polar Bear Week. Attend a talk to find out more about these magnificent animals. The best way to help polar bears is by taking active measures to reduce your carbon footprint, recycle, use public transport, and save electricity to battle climate change. You will find plenty of documentaries and reading materials on polar bears and their habitat, so spend the day learning about the impact of climate change on these bears. Unlike other bear species, polar bears only eat meat. They are exclusively carnivores. Polar bears are the largest carnivorous land mammals on Earth, and they are massive. Polar bears can be found outside of the Arctic, in Alaska, Canada, Russia, Greenland, and Svalbard. Although bear siblings are playful with each other, polar bears prefer being alone, except when they need a mate. So they prefer living in solitude. A polar bear can rarely live up to 30 years. They generally have a lifespan of 25 years. Polar bears have become endangered due to the climate emergency and human activities. Polar Bear Week aims to protect the animals and work actively towards restoring their dwindling numbers. Polar Bear Week gives us a chance to do meaningful conservation work and find solutions to save planet. Polar bears are crucial for maintaining the ecological balance and food chain hierarchy, like all creatures, big and small. This week-long celebration highlights the important roles that a polar bear plays in nature. A similar commemorations are on January 1st, Polar Bear Plunge Day, and February 27th, International Polar Bear Day, and June 7th, National Black Bear Day, and so on. This week is also celebrated as Rat Tech Week in US, Radiological Technology Week, or Radiologic Technology Week, or National Radiologic Technology Week is held in the first week of November, that is November 8th, to celebrate Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen's discovery of the X-ray from November 3rd to 9th this year, to honor the essential work of artists around the country. The week-long event highlights the critical role that medical imaging and radiation treatment specialists perform in patient care and medical safety. Radiologic Technology Week was established in 1979 by the American Society of Radiologic Technologies. Historically, NRTW has not always been held in November. The first National Radiologic Technology Week was held from July 22nd to 29, 1979, which was over 40 years ago. The day of the commemoration was later changed to the week of November 8. This was to honor the discovery of the X-ray by German physicist Wilhelm Röntgen on November 8, 1895. Although Röntgen was not the first to detect X-rays, he was the first to publish a study on the subject. He labeled this radiation with the letter X to indicate that it was an unknown form of radiation. He created the first X-ray image of the human body using previously unknown rays and his wife's hand. X-rays imaging medical appliances were instantly obvious. People were exploring X-rays in clinical settings within weeks of Röntgen's revelation. Other types of radiology did not appear until much later. Godfrey Housefield did not develop computed tomography, that is CT scan, until 1972. In the late 1970s, real-time ultrasound equipment was introduced to the medical world. A woman couldn't see the fetus inside her womb before this technology. Raymond Van Damadian designed a magnetic resonance imaging scanner, MRI, in 1977. All of these inventions have proven crucial in the diagnosis of various diseases. Imaging operations and radiation therapy treatments are performed by radiologic technologists or RT radiologists, read and interpret medical images, and they collaborate with them. MRI, X-ray imaging, mammography, CT scans, ultrasound, sonography, PET, and fluoroscopy are all examples of this. It's a high demand job for rad techs with room for advancement. According to the US Department of Labor, the number of radiology technologists working in the US will increase by 13% come 2026. There were 2,41,700 jobs in 2016. By 2026, the number is predicted to reach 2,72,000 jobs. The average length of time it takes to become a radiology technician is 2 years. Associate degree in rad tech is typical for radiologic technology. Students can attempt the California state exam for therapeutic or diagnostic radiologic technology certification after completing their degree. So fundraisers are a great way to spread the word about NRTW while also raising money for the good cause. Consider having a raffle, bake sale, or potluck. Compile a booklet with staff's receipts to provide a twist to a bake sale. Booths can be put up in your workplace, at schools, and in community centers and halls. Give out free NRTW products, advertising materials, and informational booklets at the booth. Using X-rays to get rid of unwanted hair was a trend in 1920. Radial haircuts. X-rays were used in several telescopes released into scope, helping NASA see better. Among the earliest X-ray diagnosis was that of British doctor finding a needle stuck in the hand of a patient. Extreme tailoring. In its infancy, people believed X-rays went through the human body harmlessly, like flashing the lights. In the 1930s to early 50s, X-ray machines were used in US shoe stores to guarantee a good fit. A technologist's major responsibilities include using medical technology to make scans of patients' bodies. This helped doctors in the diagnosis of illness and injuries. Artists assist medical workers in inserting catheters, implants, or other devices into the body, treating tumors and clearing blood clots and other blockages. Artists can eliminate the need for conducting exploratory surgery. No one wants a doctor rooting around inside your body now, do they? Today is also commemorated as Jellyfish Day. It's a day to celebrate about beautiful and mysterious invertebrate the world calls a jellyfish on November 3rd. Along with enjoying all this lovely, not really a fish sea creature has to offer, the day also encourages people to learn more about this marine animal and then share it with the world. Jellyfish, a class of marine invertebrate animals, have been found around for a seriously long time, even longer than dinosaurs. Scientists always believed jellyfish originated some 500 million years ago. A theory proven right with the 2007 discovery of perfectly preserved 505 million year old jellyfish fossils in Utah, US. This find was particularly mind boggling because jellyfish, having no bones to speak of, rarely leave a trace of their existence like other animals do. Jellyfish have always boggled minds, particularly with their distinctive structures, their transparent bodies, wiry tentacles, and lack of bodily organs confounded early scientists so much that they couldn't even classify these guys back when categories were only plants, animals, and humans. Jellyfish weren't plants, but they didn't fit in the specified mold of animals either. The world simply dubbed, classified them as incomplete and didn't bother investigating further, at least until the microscope was invented. Many such incomplete organisms didn't neatly fit into any category naturalists created, and they were forced to re examine their categories and come up with new definitions for each. However, it wasn't until Charles Darwin proposed his theory of evolution in 1859 all living things show a variation in physical traits over time as a process of natural selection. That jellyfish got some recognition. Then the German zoologist and naturalist Ernst Haeckel wrote a book, Generelle Morphologie der Organismen, in 1866, which translated to General Morphology of Organisms. In it, he illustrated the evolution of many organisms, jellyfish included, to show how primitive animals forms gradually came to be known, the versions we all know now. He theorized that jellyfish had split from the rest of the organisms at an earlier date, the reason they look so different from other species. The world began researching the species and has never looked back in the process. We are also re evaluating the use of fish in the jellyfish name. Fish commonly refers to animals with a backbone, and scientists now sometimes call them jellies too. Today, these somewhat invasive species have survived and thrived almost all over the world because they need very little oxygen. They can survive in any water, enjoy a broad diet, reproduce very quickly, and shrink when food reserves reduce, only to revive themselves when food is available again. NASA sends 2,478 jellyfish into space as part of a first of its kind experiment. By the end of the experiment, the jellyfish have successfully reproduced and now number almost 60,000. This was in 1991. A nuclear power plant in California temporarily shuts down after the outside water, which it uses to cool down in its reactor cores, include a large number of jellyfish, which clog the system. In 2008, researchers from Virginia Tech create an aquatic robot modeled on jellyfish structure and design, which they hope can be used to study the mystery of the sea in 2030. A study on jellyfish shows that the brain is not required to experience sleep. The jellyfish enters a sleep-like state and is sluggish if it does not sleep, supporting the theory that a brain is not essential for sleeping in 2017. These marine animals have been dubbed jellyfish since 1700s. Their name is a combination of Latin gelare for congeal or stiffen, and the Proto-Indo-European pisc, meaning a fish, an animal that lives in the water. When jellyfish mostly only live for a few months, one species of jellyfish lives forever, kind of. The Turritopsis dorini is capable of regenerating to its earliest stage of life, like a human regressing back to babyhood. If it experiences an illness or trauma and then starts the whole process again. People across the world have been known to enjoy a diet of jellyfish, especially in Southeast Asia. They can be consumed shredded, thinly sliced, boiled, and more. Though we are not in consumption of that, and this month is vegetarian month. So visit the jellyfish exhibit at aquariums and zoos near you. Some global aquariums host major events on this day, which you could check out online if available. These invertebrates have been well documented in books, documentaries, and television shows over the years. Pick a few you like and settle down to educate yourself about this luminous animal. When enjoy learning about these incredible evolutionary wonders, Explore jellyfish across various mediums with your loved ones and share news about Jellyfish Day with everyone so that they can join in the celebrations too. Jellyfish are 95% water. They got a water-based substance called mesoglia, which contains their muscles, nerves, and structural proteins. Their bodies are called bells. The jellyfish swims around by contracting and relaxing their muscles around the bell. They come in a range of colors: pink, red, yellow, purple, blue, or even clear, and nearly half of the entire jellyfish population on Earth glow brightly because of a physical trait called bioluminescence. A species of jellyfish called the malokingi or the common kingslayer has one of the world's most protein venoms, despite being only the size of hairnail, uh, human fingernail, a very venomous jellyfish. Generally, jellyfish are not venomous. Rarely we find species like this. Collagen from jellyfish is compatible with most cell types and is ideal for multiple medical applications, including treating wounds and helping the rheumatoid arthritis. And jellyfish are harvested for collagen. So these invertebrates don't always get the love they deserve. It is a special day to celebrate them seems like a perfect way to introduce more people to jellyfish. The more we learn about jellyfish, the more we begin to see a way forward that does not harm the planet. Jellyfish are a green and sustainable food source, and their ability to bind to microplastics show a potential way out of world's plastic problem. There is also commemorated as Smart Home Day on November 3rd every year, focusing on technology behind the smart home, which is one equipped with and controlled by the use of home automation system. This form of mechanization monitors and controls aspects of the house such as lighting, temperature, and appliances. Smart homes typically also include home security such as access control, remote monitoring, and alarm systems. The earliest form of automation was labor-saving machines as time advanced. Self-contained, self-powered electrical devices as well as gas-powered home appliances became a regular feature. This development began in the 1900s with the introduction of electric power distribution, further birthing the invention and commercialization of appliances such as washing machines, water heaters, and refrigerators, among others. The year 1975 saw the introduction and development of the first general purpose home automation network technology, also known as X10. The X10 is a communication protocol for electronic devices which uses power transmission, wiring for signaling, and general control with signals comprising radio frequency spasms of digital data. In 1978, 3 years after its launch, X10 products came with 16-channel command consoles and an appliance module. In 2011, tech giant Microsoft Research discovered that the innovation of home automation could be limited in relevance by the high cost of ownership, a lack of flexibility of interconnected devices, and poor manageability. Since this information was made public, designers and engineers now take factors such as scalability, how well the devices can be monitored and controlled, ease of installation and use for consumer, affordability, speed, security, and ability to diagnose issues when building modern home automation systems. As of 2012, an ABA research report stated that the United States had recorded 1.5 million installations of home automation systems. Today is also commemorated as Daylight Saving Saints in US, as Daylight Savings ends every first Sunday of November on November 3rd this year in most part of the US and marks transition to standard time. It is the day Americans set their clocks back 1 hour before bed on Saturday night to end daylight savings at 2 a.m. The return to standard time means the sun will rise earlier and you can enjoy the rays of morning when you wake up early. The first Sunday in November is when daylight saving time ends in most areas in the US, and it marks the fallback to standard time. The practice of daylight saving time, DST, or summer time, advances clocks by 1 hour during the summer months so it gets darker at a later time. Typical DST is implemented by setting a clock forward by 1 hour in the spring forward, and setting it back by 1 hour in autumn, fall back to return to the standard time. This causes the loss of an hour for one day in the late winter or early spring, but brings more warmth from the daylight in summer evenings. Daylight saving time has lasted 8 months a year since 2007, when the US Congress declared that it must begin on the second Sunday in March and end on the first Sunday in November in the US. Although Benjamin Franklin, in his quote, "Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise," which was published in a letter to the Journal de Paris, was the first to suggest the full use of daylight, he never mentioned setting clocks backward or forward. It was the New Zealander George Hudson who invented the modern idea of daylight saving in 1895 when he presented a paper to the Wellington Philosophical Society. While most of the US states practice daylight savings as standardized by the Uniform Time Act of 1966, states like Arizona and Hawaii don't. The law grants individual states the right to determine whether or not to observe DST. This week is also commemorated as Drowsy Driving Prevention Week, US. The first full week of November, from November 3rd to 9th this year, it's time to raise awareness on this often overlooked issue and to consider ways to prevent the thousands of injuries and deaths caused by fatigued and sleepy drivers in the US each year. Drowsy driving is an act of operating a vehicle while sleepy, and it can affect anyone who gets behind the wheel. The legislative arm of the state of Florida designated the first week of September to Drowsy Driving Prevention Week to educate the public on the dangers and to remember 80-year-old Ron Shea Jugans, who was killed in 2008. Ron Shea's school bus was hit by a driver who had fallen asleep at the wheel. However, National Sleep Foundation holds Drowsy Driving Prevention Week on the first full week of November each year. The week following the end of daylight saving time, according to a survey conducted by the foundation before Drowsy Driving Prevention Week was initiated, more than half of American adults reported that they consistently drive drowsy. 20% admitted to have fallen asleep behind the wheel in the previous year alone. These results highlight a major need for public enlightenment and awareness. The foundation identifies young adults between the ages of 16 to 25 as the most at risk, together with shift workers working long hours, commercial drivers, people with untreated sleep disorders such as obstructive sleep apnea, and business travelers. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, estimated that over 12.5 billion in the monetary losses, 71,000 injuries, and more than 1,550 deaths are caused by drowsy driving crashes each year. The NHTSA has an ongoing collaboration with Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in short known as CDC, and the National Institute of Health, in short known as NIH, and believes most crashes caused by drowsy driving occur between midnight and 6 a.m. or in the late afternoon. They conservatively estimate that young drivers who drive drowsy cause 1 lakh police reported crashes each year. In America, commercial citation are now issued to commercial motor vehicle drivers if it is discovered that they were tired or ill at the time of crash. These drivers who operate commercial buses carrying over 15 passengers or trucks transporting goods or hazardous materials must comply with federal and state regulations regarding sleep to make sure the roads are safe. This week is also commemorated as National Animal Shelter Appreciation Week in US, which is celebrated from November 3rd to 9th this year, the first full week of November, in recognition to various shelters that provide care to animals of displaced animals in US. The observance also serves to acknowledge the hard-working people supporting the efforts with their work at the shelters. Local shelters are great at finding new homes for homeless pets, but it's not all they do. They rescue and rehabilitate injured or abused animals too, and they reunite lost pets with their original families. They serve communities by saving their animals every day. The term animal shelter originated after the use of pond as in dog pond took on a negative connotation. Ponds were enclosures that were lost livestock and pets seen as a public health hazard were impounded until their owners found them, but they would become known as a place such animals were killed. This led to the change of name to a more positive animal rescue shelter. Animal shelters care for return or rehome lost or neglected pets. Today, shelters also reach out to the veterinary community for guidance on both the physical and behavioral health of these animals, eliminating the stigma that animals in shelters are unhealthy. Shelter animals are well cared for, great candidates for pet adoption. The American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, ASPCA, was established in 1866 as the first organization for animal welfare in the US, focused initially on horses. Several non-affiliated humane societies were founded in other cities, and at first dog licenses that protected public safety and property, private property, rather than the animals were issued to fund the societies. The public safety and private property rather than the animals were issued to fund the societies. The Pennsylvania SPCA was the first society to focus on the welfare of shelter animals in 1870. So before the 1970s, shelters focused on the humane euthanasia of animals that were not adopted or reclaimed after a long time. By the mid-70s, veterinary medicine was introduced along with preventive care and treatment programs. There is still no federal system regulating shelters, and some of the guidelines for animal care remain undeveloped. The Humane Society of the United States founded National Animal Shelter Appreciation Week in 1996 to acknowledge the appreciate the role of animal shelters in communities all over the country. This day encourages the public to understand the level of work involved in caring for animals and to volunteer to help at their local animal shelter. The annual event acknowledges the hardworking people who support the shelters and help in keeping the pets healthy. According to reports, there are about 70 million stray animals in the United States, with up to 8 million ending up in shelters. The American Society of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals report that each year, only 3 million of these animals get adopted from the 5,000 animal shelters around the country. Many animal shelters are non-profit This means they depend on donations and grants to stay open. Even when the service they provide is also vital to civil orderliness, shelters primarily serve the function of finding a home for stray animals, but they also facilitate reuniting lost pets with their homeowners and may provide animal health services, behavioral evaluations, training, pet sitting, grooming, and human education. Although they play a crucial role in society, animal shelter staff work tirelessly to rescue and help animals for often below average wages, making it even more important to dedicate a special holiday to thank them. Today is also commemorated as Independence Day of Suensa in Ecuador. Ecuador celebrates the independence of Suensa, which is a national holiday. Every November 3rd, it commemorates the day of the city of Suensa, declared its independence in 1820. With the third largest population, Suensa was a significant colonial city that proclaimed its independence from Spanish authority before the rest of nation. With Guayaquil and other cities followed its lead, and in the end, Cuenca merged with Guayaquil and Quito to become the current state of Ecuador. During the independence of Cuenca celebrations, you may experience the city colorful parades, dancing, and partying. Cuenca officially Santa Ana de los Cuatro de Cuenca is the largest capital city of Ecuador's Azue province. It was formerly known as Guapondele, a Canary town established around 500 AD. When the Canary were defeated around the 1470s, the Inca ruler Tupac Yupanqui ordered the establishment of Pumapungo, the gateway of Yuma, which supposedly rivaled the splendor of Cusco, the Inca capital, the renamed city Tombamba. Spanish historians recorded tales of golden temples and similar wonders, but Spaniards only found the mythical city ruins. On April 12, 1557, Gil Ramirez Davalos, a Spanish explorer, laid the groundwork for Spanish settlement in Cuenca. It was named after Cuenca, Spain, the hometown of the Viceroy of Peru Andres Hurtado de Mendoza. Cuenca was established decades after founding of other significant Spanish colonies in the area, including Quito in 1534, Guayaquil in 1538, Loja in 1548. Throughout the colonial period, the city's population and significance increased, and it reached the height of its prominence in the early years of Ecuador's independence. Cuenca emerged with the provinces of Guayaquil and Quito to form Republic of Ecuador. Today is also commemorated as Separation Day in Panama, which is celebrated on November 3rd each year and is also known as Panama's National Day. It marks Panama's separation from Colombia to become its own full-fledged republic. Panama and Colombia used to be a single nation known as New Granada or Gran Colombia back in 1800s when they achieved independence from Spain, their colonizer. However, the fuse that sparked Panama's revolution against Colombia was a proposal to build Panama Canal across the Isthmus of Panama, something Colombia opposed and Panama was amenable to. So As with the most great revolutions, conflict of opinion was the reason for this country finally becoming its own republic. Separation Day was celebrated as a mark of Panama's independence from the South American nation of Colombia in 1903. Interestingly, Panama has its own Independence Day already, which is celebrated on November 28th. The day of Panama gained its independence from Spain in 1821. That breaking away was led by one of the most famous leaders in South American history, Simon Bolivar. He was a Venezuelan leader who fueled the fires of revolution and enabled Panama and Colombia to break free from Spain, among other South American countries like Ecuador and Venezuela. When Panama left Spanish rule, it came under the Republic of Greater Colombia or Gran Colombia. Despite this monumental step of emancipation from Spain, the Panamanians weren't satisfied. They had an enduring passion to become their own nation, and they almost became independent from Colombia in 1831, which was when Ecuador and Venezuela parted ways with the Republic of Greater Colombia. Around the late 1800s, the French decided that building a canal across the Isthmus of Panama would be a great way to make the Pacific accessible. Hence, the Panama Canal project was born. However, the French failed and abandoned the project. It was then that the US also stepped in and attempted to complete the construction, but they faced opposition from the government of Colombia. It was therefore in the United States' best interest to support Panamanian separatist movement as Colombia and Panama were in disagreement over the right of the US to build and control the canal. With aid from US, Panama successfully broke away from Colombia in 1903. It was then Panama signed the Gunau-Varela Treaty, which recognized the Republic of Panama as an independent nation and allowed the US to resume construction of the Panama Canal. The reason Panama was in favor of the canal was that it would help improve their socio-economic conditions. By 1914, the Panama Canal was completed, and by 1999, President Jimmy Carter handed full control of it to government of Panama. Today, the motto of Panama is Pro Mundi, Beneficio, for the benefit of the world, and this stands to reason because of the great importance of the Panama Canal to international trade and other commerce-related affairs. So deeply does their patriotism run that many Panamanians even adopted Ruben Blades' song Patria Motherland as their unofficial national anthem. Blades is a Panamanian musician and activist, and his song Patria, released in 1988, talks about the meaning of the word homeland. It is also commemorated as National Homemaker Day in US, celebrates the people who keep our households running. This day is devoted to appreciating all labor done in homes, including cooking, buying groceries, carrying out much needed repairs. However, homemaker is in your modern family. This is a chance to thank and celebrate the ones working hard behind the scenes. In US, the person in charge of taking care of home while their partner works is called a homemaker. In our current society, this term applies to a housespouse of any gender who works hard to keep their home in order. A homemaker can also be an adult parent or family member helping take care of the home and any present children. However, in the past, a homemaker would normally be the wife or a matriarch of a family unit. In the 19th century, women were required to stay back and maintain the home as a peaceful environment for their husbands and children. Through the 20th century began with many of the same homemaking ideals. As the 19th, by 1990s, more marriages consisted of both men and women participating in housework. Unfortunately, according to a study performed by Adam Hochschild in 1989, women who made more than 50% of income were still doing the majority of the housework. Being a homemaker in the 21st century is not a lifetime commitment like it was in 1800s. Someone who might stay at home now want to return to the workforce later, while their partner will either continue working as well as or decide to switch places and take over the housework duties. Currently, more men are contributing to housework and are even the main homemakers, opting to stay at home while their wives or husbands are primary breadwinners. Though the number of female housespouses still outweigh their male counterparts, the gap between the two is steadily closing as people abandon traditional gender norms for approaches that fit their individual lifestyles. Today is also commemorated as National Accessory Day in US. To honor our love for accessories, some attires are incomplete without the touch of accessories, while other attires are worn to highlight the statement peace. Bella Hadid's golden lung necklace at Met Gala comes to mind. Any adornment worn with clothes, including shoes, bags, belts, bracelets, watches, rings, necklaces, and earrings, falls into the category of accessories. The first two often find themselves in their own separate category. Now that we are clear about the sphere of fashion we are celebrating this day, and as accessories are the essential details and refine the finer points of a look. In the fashion world, accessories are known to be the vitamins to fashion and exclamation point of an outfit. Some accessories naturally evolved to fulfill necessities, like while others were introduced to represent social status and wealth. Early accessories, when humans were dancing around a fire dressed in leaves and animal skin, were made of bones, seeds, feathers, shells, and stone. Crowns, amulets, or badges often depicted the status of individual in the tribe or town. Necessity carved the other as sets of accessories such as bags and footwear, glasses, shades, and watches, often replaced with Fitbit these days, were introduced to the list with newer inventions. In the last few centuries, it has been observed that wars with and economic depressions have impacted fashion more than any major brand or designer. For instance, in the Victorian era, gloves, fans, and extravagant hats were integral to women's wear, while after the Great Depression, the style became subtle and minimalist with long socks and simple hats. Accessories are capable of changing the mood of a getup. Social media is filled with tutorials to the style of the same dress for different occasions by just changing the accompanying accessories. Just changing how a scarf is worn or adding a belt can change the whole vibe or a look. Today is also commemorated as Give Someone a Dollar Day in US. It's a good day to give a dollar to someone despite the fact that a dollar appears to be worthless these days. There are still some things that a dollar can buy. On this day, you can give a dollar to someone you know or someone you have never met. You can also give a dollar to anyone who appears to be in need or deserves it. The $1 bill, also known as single, have been the lowest value denomination of the United States paper currency since the termination of fractional currency notes in 1876. The front face has a portrait of George Washington, the first president of United States, taken from the Athenaeum Portrait, a Gilbert Stott painting. The reverse features of United States Great Seal, the $1 bill boasts the oldest general design of any current US currency in production. The typical lifespan of a one bill in current circulation is 6.6 years before it needs replacement due to where $1 bills accounted for almost 42% of all US printed currency in 2009. There were 12.7 billion $1 bits in circulation worldwide as of December 31st, 2019. Give Someone a Dollar Day is a reminder of the value of dollar bill and a symbolic act of giving to others. It's a time to act as one of the most basic and often disregarded aspects of human nature, kindness. You may not give much to the person to whom you are giving the dollar. They may not even need it, but it is the act of kindness that counts. You can rally your friends and family to join you in your giving spree, or you can start a donation pot and donate the proceedings to charity. Today is also commemorated as Dominican Independence Day in Dominica, celebrated on November 3rd. Dominica has a tumultuous past with greedy nations attempting to colonize and rule it. It is the strength and determination of people that helped it gain independence after years of political turmoil and the rule by foreign leaders. The independence of Dominica was declared on November 3rd, 1978. Dominican Independence Day is an opportunity to commemorate the country's rich culture and history. Several events take place leading up to the day, such as Heritage Day and Creole Day. So join the festivities and commemorate the will and strength of Dominicans. Today is also commemorated as Culture Day in Japan. On November 3rd every year, the Constitution of Japan established this day as a national holiday. This day is also known as Banka no Hai and mostly celebrates the culture, academia, and arts of Japan. This national event is celebrated to pay respects to the traditional Japanese culture and to promote the notion of peace and freedom that is declared in the Constitution of Japan. This day was officially announced after the Second World War in the first week of November. Education and Cultural Week is observed. Events related to education and culture are held this week, which create a deep interest for people in Japanese culture. Today is also commemorated as Cliche Day in US, which is celebrated every year on November 3rd throughout the country. That celebrates the cliche, the usefulness of glitches in everyday life. Glitches are glitches because they are overused and they can be very irritating, but that's part of the fun. They are predictable and funny because everyone knows they are coming. And they are funny and enjoyable as this is a great day to work them into conversations. More importantly, everyone understands glitches and they convey your point easily and quickly. Used well, glitches can facilitate conversation and be great icebreakers. So go ahead and celebrate. So with this, we shall end today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining us. For today's commemorations, we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form, which has been raised in the form of polls to mark your attendance. So see you all tomorrow at the same time with the same joining link with different commemorations. Take care. Good night.